everyone. So I am recently returned from Los Angeles. I was at the purpose of the trip was to go see the Rozz documentary. And a few people have reached out to me, hoping that I would make a video about the doc, doing a review. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to review the doc. I'm not really going to talk about the experience as a whole, or the event, or the concert that followed. I'm just going to really focus on the documentary and my thoughts on it. I will say that the visit to LA, or the event itself, I really appreciated the Rozz fans that recognized me, either through my YouTube channel or through even my days back in Rozznet when they knew me as Halo, that came and said hi and reached out. There was one gentleman in particular who was in line in front of me, and I wish he has a particular skill where he remembers names. How he remembers names, he has a technique, and I wish that he could have taught me that technique, because I'm so bad at remembering names. Anyway, I wanted to say, especially, a kind word about him as well. He was in line in front of us, and he is very much like me personality-wise, and the whole experience was a little overwhelming that night. Same trepidations and anxieties, so I just wanted to thank him for introducing himself, and I'm sorry I can't remember your name. I know that we have talked in the past, and I'm so bad at names. I know your face. Anyway, so thank you for being so kind to my son and I. I'm not recovering. I'm going through a cold, as is typical when I travel. So I apologize if I sound hoarse or if I start coughing. So the documentary. So I'm just going to kind of share a story about my experience as a Rozz fan leading up to this moment, going to the show. When I asked for the time off from work, I kind of work in a tight knit company, so people have that kind of familiarity. Oh, how are the kids? How are things at home? And so there was some curiosity when I took time off, because I generally don't take time off. Oh, what are you going to be doing? And oh, you're going to be traveling. What are you going to be doing? There's trepidation when I have to say the name Rozz. And that is because I know from a very surface level, there's a lot of connotations loaded with that name. All they got to do is search Rozz online, and they could see any number of images of Rozz throughout his career. And with swastikas and the performative art side of Rozz, you just have to be careful from a workplace standpoint, and even from a personal standpoint. How many people do you know in your life that are super familiar with Rozz and know the levels and complexities of his career and his choices? So I had some trepidation with that, and sharing where I was going and why I was going there. It's not really that I'm not proud of being a Rozz fan. It's just that I just don't think that the general populace, or the people who I work with, or casual friends, are going to dig deep enough to try to understand why I'm flying to LA with my son to go see a documentary about this artist, and maybe not trust that my judgment is sound. Anyway, with that said, so we went, my son, I took my son, we both flew out to LA. We met at the airport, and we got there very late Thursday. Friday was a day of exploring, and Saturday was the show. One of the mornings, my son and I were looking for some place to have breakfast, and we just happened to pick a place and sat next to someone else who was out exploring for breakfast, who happened to be a Rozz fan that was in LA for the documentary. And I really enjoyed meeting her. It was a very reassuring and reaffirming moment that, with all the drama and toxicity that has invaded the Rozz community, that there's still fans out there that I haven't met, who are grounded and have the same level of appreciation and infatuation with Rozz that I do. So I really enjoyed meeting her, and it really set the tone for the day. It invigorated me for that night, because I was filled with a lot of anxiety about it, mostly because of the toxicity that's in the Rozz community, from a handful of individuals. I didn't know what to expect. I was worried about some of my friends that were there, which turned out to be accurate concerns. The documentary was really well done. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know what to expect. I knew people that had been sort of guiding the process. Not guiding, but giving feedback. So I kind of knew what was going to be in the documentary, but I wanted to remain sort of absent from any kind of details. And I was immediately touched. The documentary immediately talks about, or gives the perspective of Rozz's family. And even the documentary itself was introduced by Nico and Larry Painter, one of Rozz's brothers. And it was very heartfelt. And there was definitely emotion there that felt very concrete and very, very prescient at the moment. It helped catapult you as the viewer into that documentary on a very heartfelt level going into the documentary. It was a touchstone, and those personal interactions from family members and people that worked with Rozz, those connect the documentary throughout the entire length. But the family moments, those are very revealing and personal and touching. They're also very real. It's probably the most real aspect of the documentary that, as somebody that's spent a lot of time in the Rozz world, kind of desperately needs that grounding reality of Rozz as a person with a family, a person with friends. Sorry, I had a coughing fit there, so I had to stop. So for me, the most prominent part, the part of the documentary that I connected with the most was those personal stories from Rozz's family. It's an aspect of Rozz's life you don't hear about a lot, and again, they felt the most tangible and real. Imagining a family member describing you to a crowd of strangers, almost like a wake. Yeah, for me that was touching. And I think it was for most of the audience, just based on reactions. And then and I'll touch on this. I know there's been a lot of feedback and negativity when people learn that there is some AI used in the film, and most of the AI that I was aware of or am aware of is in Rozz's voice. It's not. It's not overly used. It's sprinkled throughout the documentary. And there was one moment where it felt, the voice felt slower than Roz's cadence. And I don't even know if I would have known that it was AI if it hadn't already been discussed, like it hadn't already been out in the ether. I do want to clarify one point. Like, none of the words that are spoken by Rozz are just artificially generated conversations. These were interviews that he gave that were maybe taped, with a cassette. But the words that he speaks are from interviews that he did with different magazines or journalists. So the fact that they're spoken is, AI was able to piece those together using other conversations Rozz had that, were recorded, that there's audio of, but they're actually words he spoke. And while I am not a big fan of AI generative reality, I think that's a line I might be okay with. I'm not sure. I'm trying to come up with the negatives of it. If it were definitely words that he didn't speak and they were just pieced together to illustrate a point, I think that would be my line. But because he actually spoke these words to another human being, and that we used AI to give flesh to those conversations, I don't know that I have a problem with that. I'm open. I'm open to the discussion of how that would be a bad thing. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about that because I know that that's been a big bone of contention for some fans, and I didn't really feel that during the night. There was no one like groaning or sighing or rolling their eyes that I saw when those moments happened. And again, there was only one segment of the film where, because I knew AI was used, that I was able to pick up on it, and I don't know that I would have otherwise. And maybe that's a problem. I don't know. What else did I like about the documentary? It does cover the wide scope of Rozz's career, from pre-Christian death all the way through to the end. It is very surface. And I think if you're someone that watches this channel, you probably, other than those personal family stories, aren't going to learn a lot about Rozz that you didn't already know. So, is this documentary for you? Yeah, because I think there's enough there that we don't really have, or that we've never really seen as Rozz fans, collectors, from that family standpoint. And even some of the friends and musicians that have been influenced by Rozz. There's enough of that to pull you in. But are you going to learn a lot about Rozz that you didn't already know? I don't think so. This is, for me and some of the people that I'm friends with who are also Rozz fans, this feels like a loop closing. Like a period at the end of a sentence. Not to say that there won't be more items, But this felt like closure for a lot of us that have been in this community for so long, that felt Rozz deserved this kind of recognition and this grandeur, this level of appreciation. And I can tell you, like, there were a lot of people at the show, and we were all there for him. And that was amazing to see. Like, from a perspective of being siloed in a Rozz world, behind my computer, making videos, talking to you all one-on-one, seeing so many of you, thousands of you at least, at a theater in Los Angeles for this one event was pretty amazing. And I commented to somebody that the night was very Rozz-like, and it was. For any of you that have been in the Rozz community for any number of years, you probably can decipher what that means. I'm not really going to break it down. But it was a very Rozz night, for sure. So what else about the documentary did I like? I liked hearing from people that, like Vincent Price, he plays in Body Count, and he performed in the concert afterwards. Like, he has his take on Rozz, and that's especially important as an African American influenced by Rozz, who utilized swastikas and had inflammatory lyrics. To know that Rozz as an artist transcended that visual and that imagery of hate and bigotry, that's important to see. That was reassuring because, again, that was my trepidation in telling anyone where I was going and what I was doing. So that felt good. So, the things about the documentary that left me kind of, not flat, but wanting more. It's very surface. It's a 90-minute documentary, and only so much detail can be in there. And I feel like the documentary should have addressed the controversies that are associated with Rozz and dug into those a little deeper, and not just given us the grace of knowing the intent. If this film is for people, I guess that's a question you got to ask. Is this documentary for people who maybe know Rozz's name, or Rozz from Only Theater of Pain, know that one album? Was this documentary for those individuals, or was this for the fans who have followed Rozz for 30, 20, 10 more years? And I feel like Nico wanted to balance that and give us both. And I feel like the controversies that are associated with Rozz, the reasons why maybe you're hesitant to say you're a big Rozz fan, I feel like those really needed to be talked about. Because if you talk to the casual music fan, or you introduce them to Christian Death, and they go home and they search Rozz or Christian Death, and they start seeing swastikas and lyrics that are bigoted, they're gonna have thoughts. And I feel like this documentary deserved to touch on those and really dig past that level of controversy. And I can maybe say the lack of discussion about swastikas was so that Nico can take this film to other countries, like Germany, and show it without problem, without issue. But I feel like if this is something that is going to was a vessel for introducing Rozz to a wider audience, that's a topic that needed to be discussed in depth and explored from the people that knew Rozz in that way. The other thing that maybe I wish there had been more of was the focus on Rozz as the artist, as the poet, as the performance artist. Ron Athey is featured in the documentary. And I think that's a huge part of Rozz's life. Premature ejaculation especially is the one project from beginning to end that Rozz was always participating in. And I think that needed to have more coverage. I don't think I heard the word Helter. Maybe I did. 1334. Yeah, that whole side of Rozz's career did not get much attention, unfortunately. And the progression of that, it was Christian Death and Shadow Project, a little bit of Dacus Kuroda, and then his work with Jatan at the end, and a little bit of the solo stuff. So, given that Kenton was part of the performance, and Ron Athey was present, I think that deserved more. But there's a whole other side of Rozz that needed attention. And maybe the hope is this documentary will lead people down that path, like a path of yearning and wanting to find more. And I can understand that. So overall, the documentary for me was great. It was great to see this finally, after years at Rosnet and forums and just Rozz in the age of internet. Really, it's really what, since he passed, that's how Rozz has existed, is kind of in the internet and word of mouth. So to see this tangible thing come together and have touch points on every aspect of his life really felt necessary. And again, it felt like a link in a chain that, a chain that's now complete. And it felt good. It felt deserved, and I think Rozz was respected by this film. And I think that shows in the amount of people that were involved, who wanted to be there to perform Rozz's material. So, yeah, see it. If you have the opportunity, if it comes to one of your cities, go see it. And I'm sure it's going to have a Blu-ray release with expanded interviews at some point, probably. So pick it up. It's definitely... It brings everything from the last 30 to 40 years together into that final piece. It's like the unfinished painting is finished. So I'm excited for the Flowers 12-inch because I had talked to Nico a little bit about how he was able to do that, and there's no AI involved with that. Rozz's vocals were isolated, and if you knew anything about the 94, 95 tour years, Rozz was experimenting with a rock version of Flowers, and he really wanted to do a rock version of Flowers for the studio, and Nico made this happen. You know, he isolated Rozz's vocals from those performances, and members of Christian Death throughout the years worked together to flush out the music, and you know, I'm really excited to hear it. So I would recommend picking that up as well. Yeah, this is my honest review of the film. I enjoyed it. I would see it again. It feels like closure for a lot of us, and it was special enough that at least 1,000 people traveled from all over. I don't want to say the world, but Europe and America, to be there for this event. I didn't see anyone disappointed. And I wasn't disappointed. And I know my son, who grew up hearing Rozz's voice, who has a very surface knowledge of Rozz's life, he wasn't disappointed. And for him, I think the most eye-opening aspect of it was this group of people who all came together for this night. Like, it really expanded his understanding of the impact of Rozz Williams, I think. And for me, as his father, that spoke volumes. So, yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm telling you how I felt about the documentary, what I think it lacked, and what I appreciated about it. And I think Nico did an amazing job. And I know he worked tremendously hard on this. And I don't feel cheated at all. I feel like all of his hard work, all of the investment from all of the people involved, from musicians to artists to the people that worked on the documentary, the editing, the animation, all of it was really well done. And Nico deserves a tremendous amount of credit and respect for doing this. And if anyone tells you otherwise, and all they can say is we're robbing the grave of Rozz Williams, I would say make up your own mind. Don't give in to the hate because it's loud. Experience it. And if you feel that way after you see it, that's fine. That's your choice. That's your opinion, and that it matters. Just like mine and everyone else's. But I would recommend seeing it. Go see it if it comes to a city near you. Buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray. And participate. Make your own decision. Be the next generation of informed Rozz fans, like I have been for 30 plus years. And we're all old and we're all dying. So you can't let one person, one negative person, one angry person who didn't even know Rozz's music when Rozz was alive, be the voice of that next generation of Rozz fans. And I think we all know who we're talking about. Somebody has to carry it on. Somebody has to share that legacy. And I would rather it be a community than one person. Because the community that was around when Rozz was alive, we're all tired. We all have lives. We're all adulting out here, trying to pay bills and make the lives of our families worthwhile and our own lives worthwhile. And it's not all about Rozz. But we've always been here supporting Rozz in whatever way we can. So be the next generation of that and participate. Don't just give in to the rhetoric around Rozz. Make your own informed decisions. Be a real person. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you do like it, say so. If you don't like it, say so. But, give a reason why. That's all I got to say. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, everyone that came up to me and introduced yourselves, and I'm sorry I can't remember your names. It's not a reflection of you. That's my own broken brain. Thank you for an amazing night, Nico. Thank you to all the participants for the concert. And thank you for the opportunity to meet all of you. That was amazing. And an experience I know my son will take for the rest of his life, and me as well. It won't be replicated, I don't think. Never been to a film premiere before, but wow, did I pick a good one to go to. So, cheers to everyone, and on to the next night.
First of all, let's hear it for Rozz one more time, yeah?